And the Michael Kramer Richards Award 2023 goes to Scott Adams of Dilbert fame. Yes, Scott Adams of Dilbert fame finds himself in some hot water because of some so-called racist comments that he made. Now, the question is he canceled for that, or is it something more? Let's talk about it, guys. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. And let's talk about this uncomfortable business with Scott Adams, who is behind the popular comic strip Dilbert, which is in a bunch of papers across the country. Now, he recently got into some hot water because of some comments he made based upon a poll that he saw on Twitter. Now, some people say, and I've heard some of my contemporaries say, that Twitter is not real life. Now, I always take pause to that because while it's true it's not real life, it does influence real life. I mean, after all, Elon Musk did not pay what he paid to just have a platform where people can just say, I disagree. No, it is a way of keeping tabs, I think, number one, on the pulse of what's going on in people's minds, collecting information, as well as influencing people. As I said before, I mean, there's a lot of advertisers on there and stuff like that. So you are actually being influenced, whether it's being influenced by goods and services, or whether you're being influenced to think a certain way. So it absolutely does influence real life, if indeed it is not exactly a representation of real life. It has many, many ways that it can pervert and distort real life. So let's get into this whole Scott Adams kerfuffle, and I'm going to read this one off of CNN.com. And it says here, hundreds of newspapers dropped Dilbert comic strip after racist tirade from creator Scott Adams. Oh boy, and it says here newspapers across the country dropped the Dilbert comic strip over the weekend after the creator of the satirical cartoon went on a racist tirade, calling black Americans a hate group and suggesting that white people should get the hell away from them. So black people, all black people, including me, we're all part of a hate group. Okay. All right, I hate no one, but okay, Scott Adams, why would you say this? Let's get into this. The USA Today network, which operates hundreds of newspapers, said it pulled the plug on the long-running comic strip. The Washington Post and the Plain Dealer, also in Cleveland, said they would no longer carry the comic. The move came after Scott Adams, the cartoonist behind Dilbert, effectively encouraged segregation in a shocking rant on YouTube. Now, his comments came in response to a poll from the conservative firm Rasmussen Reports that said 53% of black Americans agree with the statement, it's okay to be white. So a little less than half of black Americans seem to believe, according to this poll, that it's not okay to be white. It's not okay. And proof of this would be all of the lynchings against white people that black people have committed over the history of America. I could see where you would come to that conclusion. All of the times when black people told white people that you're not allowed to sit in here and you have to drink from a different water fountain and you can't take the bus with us. And if you do, you have to sit on the back of the bus. That's something that black people did. Okay, I understand, Rasmussen, where you're coming from. It makes sense when you look at it in that context. The Anti-Defamation League has noted that the phrase emerged on the infamous message board 4chan in 2017 as a trolling campaign and has a long history in the white supremacist movement. If nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, I love how they say blacks, but then say white people. You know what I mean? Like, I love the title, the way this goes, the way, you're the blacks. If nearly half the blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group, Adams said on Wednesday on his YouTube show, Real Coffee with Scott Adams. I don't want to have anything to do with them, Adams added. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. There's no fixing this. Adams has since said on Twitter that he was only advising people to avoid hate. and suggested that the cancellation of his cartoon signals that free speech in America is under assault. Okay. All right. Now, look, guys, there's definitely a lot of moving parts here, a lot of things to unpack. And when you deal with social media, this is not surprising at all. You guys know I've spoken about this many times over the years. One thing you're going to notice when you go on Twitter or Facebook or whatever is how willing people are to give a signal boost to every negative thing that you possibly can with black people. They want to show black people going crazy at the Waffle House, show black people knocking out white people. They show it all, and they just love to do it. So listen, if I were white and I was being bombarded with these negative images of black people, yeah, I think a logical conclusion to come to is that I don't want to be around those people. They're savages. They're aggressive. They're undisciplined. They're violent. And they hate white people, because that's what you see. That's what's being fed to you on social media, which is the reason why I said, yes, Twitter is not real life, but it influences real life. And that's what makes it dangerous when you see people joining in on this. It used to be that you just saw negative images of black people in the movies, on the evening news. You know, this got started way back with The Birth of a Nation, you know, when they showed white people in blackface terrorizing white women. You know, this has been a problem since back then. So, you know, I love it sometimes when I hear my white brothers say, well, this is happening. The image of black men is being assaulted now, but it began with white men. No, it always began with black men. That's the way it's always been. When they drew us in cartoons of old with the big lips and all that stuff, you know, and everything. It's always been an assault on the black male image, and the black image in general. You know what I mean? So, of course, you're going to have ignorant, weak people like Scott Adams who are just going to take everything at face value, just ignoring all of the black people he might have known in his life. You know, I think he did say something about there might be a few of them in your neighborhood that are decent. Well, thank you, Scott Adams, for that. But that's usually, like I said, that's the logical explanation that one might come to. Now, whether or not this actually is racist just on the face of it, listen, I've heard a lot of black people say they don't want to live around black people. I've heard lots of black people say they don't want to live around white people. You know, it's just the way it is. It depends on the ignorance of the person and what they've been through. And, you know, that is really free speech. And to me, racism, and I've always been very clear with this in my mind, being a racist means that you literally hate people. It means that you don't want to see them alive. You don't want to see them happy. You don't want to see them employed. You don't want to see them prospering. You want to physically stand in the way of them breathing. To me, that is what racism is. You want to deny them the opportunity to pursue happiness in their country, in America. You know, that's a racist American right there. You know, just saying that you don't want to live around black people is one thing. Saying that you want to keep them out of your area at all costs, that would be the racist part. You know, if you choose to move away, there was a thing back in the 60s and 70s, I think, called white flight, where people just simply left the area when black people started moving in. You know, that tends to happen. That's their right. If they can afford to move out, they want to move out for their own reasons, then that's what they're doing. But they're not stopping other people from moving in. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference there. So no, I don't think what he said was racist. It was bigoted. It was prejudiced. It was ignorant. But racist, no. And as far as his cancellation, guys, I don't know if you remember, maybe about a month or two ago, if he's being canceled, about a month or two ago, Scott Adams made headlines for something else. Some of you guys might remember, I wrote about this on Twitter. He said that he's come to understand that the so-called anti-vaxxers were right, you know, when it comes to not getting the jab. Oh yeah, he said that. And when he said it, and when I wrote about it on Twitter, I did predict that he was going to get canceled inevitably over that. So I knew they were going to get back to him. I knew they weren't going to let this thing go. And as usual, when you want to get things going, you weaponize black people and racial outrage. All right. So this is more of the same as far as I'm concerned. Don't we all hate Scott Adams? Don't blacks? I know the blacks hate him because he's racist. We can now say he's racist. Yes, he said something ignorant. he said something bigoted. All right. But in my opinion, I can't prove it, but it's just my suspicion that this is more of that witch hunt that's been going on with people who tend to speak out against the jab. Yeah, somehow I've managed to link that, but that's how I feel about it. That's what I saw. And him saying that when he first said that it looks like the so-called anti-vaxxers were right in this. I was like, I knew they were going to get him sooner or later. And he just cooperated. He made it easy for them by saying something fucked up. And that's what I think. So I never read Dilbert in the first place. I used to see it in the paper and everything, but, it just looked like a bunch of businessman humor. If you were in that business corporate world, it seemed like it was more geared towards that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's probably going a little bit too far by denying the man a livelihood based upon what he said. I think it's making much ado out of nothing. But you guys can get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about that. My throat is getting scratchy, so I've talked long enough. You can get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about what Scott Adams said. Not excusing it. Yes, it was ignorant. Yes, it was bigoted. Does he deserve cancellation? Does he deserve to be denied livelihood? I don't think so. Not for that. I think this is more likely about what he said about the jab. But guys, let me know. Get in the comment section. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.